Despite his harmless looks, Kirby has fought many formidable foes during his adventures and should by no means be underestimated. From simple trees to gods of destruction, no enemy is too big to not get taken down by the embodiment of happiness and endless gluttony. Most of the time, these clashes follow no particular narrative and are only an obstacle along the way, unless you press the pause button. Here you often get either clear or vague information about the background of your opponent, even if it's just some irrelevant snippets. They may not add something substantial to the story, but feed the famous lore around the franchise and are an integral part of every game since then. You would be surprised how evolved and complicated these stories became, but today I want to focus on the smaller figure on this giant chessboard of interesting characters, Mr. Dooter. Appearing in Kirby's Return to Dreamland for the first time, Mr. Dooter is the second boss and protector of the Lore Star Cutter's right wing. While his appearance seems to resemble a djinn-like magician, his dexterity is much more skilled and he can easily juggle different objects with ease. His occult turban is the source of most of his powers and he's able to conjure up living creatures and even hide his whole body in there, in order to surprise his foes. But it's not only his tricky skills that make Mr. Dooter an unpredictable force to reckon with, as he can easily use his physical power to either spin around, jump to great heights or perform powerful punches with his floating fists. Not much is known about this mysterious boss, as Mr. Dooter never appeared another time and shows no signs of being able to speak or express any emotions besides slight anger. Although we don't know where he comes from, it's safe to assume that the desert cave the battle takes depicts his hideout due to the many decorated crystals you can never see outside this place. It's unknown if these stones are the source of his powers, but whenever there's no danger approaching him, Mr. Dooter dwells in his turban and waits for an opponent to test his skills on, even if he will never win. After completing the game once, it's possible to have a slightly different fight against the second boss with minor changes. Generally, most of his attacks become more aggressive, are harder to dodge or are simply stronger. As with many of these bosses, his design also changes from a composed light blue to way more intimidating burning red, although having a more elaborated moustache gives more the impression of fighting the CAO of Pringles. Sadly, this is everything known about Mr. Dooter. Because there's no lamp in near sight, it's safe to assume this boss is not orientated towards the traditional Western image of a djinn granting 3 wishes. But what do you think about this ominous magician? Do you enjoy the boss fight and would you love to learn more about his background? Unfortunately, Return to Dreamland features no pause screen lore for regular bosses, but it seems like we will never receive any new information until this odd fellow comes back. This might have been on the shorter side of a video, and even though there isn't much to talk about Mr. Dooter as such, I think we should also throw in some light on the smaller pages of the Kirby universe. Why is Mr. Dooter waiting in this cave and what is the source of his powers? Is he strong enough to end a playthrough for someone who craves a special challenge in this game? Write down your theories and thoughts in the comments.